This afternoon, the stage has been set towards who becomes the next president and political party to govern the country for the next 4 years. This year's election has been anticipated to be keenly contested, break or lose for either party. The opposition NDC is vowing to truncate the NPP's ambition to retain power and break the political governance cycle of 8 years. But the flag bearer of the NPP has selected a team to help him in realizing his ambition of leading the NPP to break the 8 in the upcoming elections. He has also immersed himself in the campaign activities with the task of supervising the campaign team. We can listen to General Secretary of the NPP, Justin Frimpong-Kodi, after the National Council meeting yesterday.
The campaign committee list that was submitted by the flag bearer of our party and subsequently approved by the National Council of our party. For the 2024 MPP campaign, both presidential and parliamentary, the chairman for the campaign is the flag bearer himself, Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia. The vice chairman for the campaign or the coordinating committee will be the vice presidential candidate, which we are yet to select. So the flag bearer is the chairman for the campaign, the chairman for the campaign, the whole campaign. So every committee will report to the flag bearer. Then we will have the national chairman, the former president J. Kufuor, President Nana Akufo-Addo, chairman and members of the National Council of Elders, former national chairman Mr. Freddie Blay, Madam Elizabeth Ohene, Reverend Joyce Ayi, and Madam Akusia Frima Osei Parry.
Let's take a closer look at members of the Bawumia campaign team. And in there, you have some big names. It starts with John Ejekum Kufuor, who is a former president. The president himself, Nana Akufo-Addo, is part chairman and members of National Council of Elders of the NPP. We have Right Honorable Frederick Wasimeu Blay, Madam Elizabeth Ohene, Reverend Joyce Ayi, and Akusia Frima Osei Parry, who is the chief of staff. Now you have campaign chairpersons who are in the persons of Daniel Kweku-Botwe, you have Fred Owari, and you have Nana Komia. They're supposed to be chairpersons of the campaign. And more also, there's a campaign manager who is Frederick Opariansa. There's a deputy campaign manager who is Antoinette Chiboy Dakon. She is with research and administration. Deputy campaign manager who is Obi Amwa. You know, that has to do with the parliamentary campaigns. And deputy campaign manager who is Ibrahim Anyas, whose job is to deal with presidential campaign. There's also more of those who occupy this list. Operations manager is the general secretary of the party himself, Justin Frimpong, and you have his deputy, who is a national organizer, Obi Amwa. He's the deputy operations manager, Henry Nana Boache. You have chairperson Peter McMeno, who is a former chairman of the party. He's also being a former general secretary of the party. Then you have Dennis Miracle Boaji, who is the communications director of the Bawumia Campaign Communication Directorate. Now, your first communications, deputy communications director being Adomako Befi. You have a second deputy being Akbar Kumain, who are all part of this 30-member team to win power and to break the 8. Again, you have Engineer Kwabena Ejei Ejapon, you have Kofi Jamesi, you have John Boydu, You have Susanna Alo, Salifu Said, Samuel Ewuku, Anthony Abeifa Kabo. You have Kwesinya Mebefi and Nia J. Sowa. Remember, Kwabne J. Japan contested Bawumia. Now he's in his campaign team. Now let's have groups and their coordinators. And you have the identifiable group, which has Joseph Kujo being their coordinator. Coastal Campaign, you have Mavis Hawakumsen. Medal Belt, Dr. Ayuwe Free is their coordinator. In Northern Zone, you have Dominic Nitiwo coordinating the campaigns there. So you can see how it's been, segmented all in the bid to break the eight. Well, I've been joined by Miracles Abuaje. He's the NPP's campaign communications director. He's joining us for a conversation. Great to have you, Ms. Abuaje.
Hi.
Yes, so can you clarify for us why the flag bearer, despite his crucial duties as vice president, still being tasked with the mandate of chairing the election campaign team? He's also the flag bearer as well.
That's basically the natural order, and that is how it has always been. The flag bearer is the one the entire campaign is working for, and so typically it is his campaign. Everybody is named, everybody canvassing or mobilizing is doing it for him, and so it is prudent for a candidate who is hands-on to always be involved in this campaign and follow what's going on. So it's not out of place at all. And being engaged and being busy is all part of the campaign. So the proper thing is for the candidate to see himself as the owner of the campaign and the one for whom all of these things are being done. And that's why you see it in that way. Of course, I think the only reason why we are discussing this is because in the past, you don't necessarily hear that it is mentioned as such, but it has always been inherent. That is how it's always been. If you ask anybody that has been involved in presidential campaigns, they will tell you that the campaign is for the candidate. It is a candidate's campaign. Everybody else is working for the candidate. And so that's what it is.
There are concerns that this campaign actually is to keep the party in power and not necessarily for just the candidate. Hello, Mr. Abuaje.
The candidate is the one on the ballot paper, running on the ticket of the party. Ultimately, it is that candidate that the people are going out there to vote for, only on the arms of a political party. That is why you don't have the logo of the political party solely on the ballot paper, but you have the candidate's image on the ballot paper. And that is why you can even have situations where a particular candidate may not be qualified to run per the constitution of this country. So it is the candidate's campaign. It is the candidate's elections being run on the back of a political party.
So what exactly will be his role as a supervisor of the campaign?
He's the main man. He's the lead person. He's the lead spokesperson of the campaign. He's the lead strategist of the campaign. He's the figurehead of the campaign. He's that person that is out there on the field every day, ensuring that he gets close to the people and gets his message across to the people. He's that person that has to be in the strategy room to look at the strategies and the direction and the plans that we are putting in place. Everything is about the candidate. Everybody else is working only for the candidate. And so for me, it's a very simple, straightforward structure that we have. That when we sit down as a campaign, the coordinating figurehead is the candidate himself. And then in there, he has a campaign strategy group, which is made up of the Director of Campaign Strategy of the party, Honorable Dan Botwe, with deputies in Nana Komia and Mr. Fredowari. And then you have the campaign management group, these are the people who are actually out there on the field on day-to-day basis, operationalizing the strategies and the plans that have been formulated in the room. And so it's quite a simple, straightforward structure that we have. It's more practical, very decentralized and segmented to ensure that we have focal persons for every sect of the target group that we want to reach in this campaign.
I want to believe that you've done the calculations well, and you believe that his role as vice president will not in any way affect his role as supervisor of his campaign.
He's a candidate. He's already going to go out. There's no difference between being the supervisor of the campaign and being the candidate of the campaign. And he's the guy out there.
And as a vice president.
So, yes, I mean, all over the world, we have presidents and vice presidents vying for positions. That's our job as politicians. That's what we are trained for. And so multitasking and getting this done, it's not out of place at all. He's already been involved in elections as a vice president in 2020. And so it's not as if it's anything new at all. The key thing here is that the vice president, who is a presidential candidate of the MPP, is the figurehead of the campaign. He is the head of the campaign. He is the leader of the campaign. He's the main man on the pitch or in the ring in this case. And he's the one that we are all working towards, ensuring that he becomes president on 7 December 2024.
I'm grateful for your time. Miracles Abuaje is the Director of Communications for the Bawumia campaign team. Let's do more. I have been joined also by Professor Kobe Mensah, who is a political marketing specialist with the University of Ghana Business School. Grateful for your time, Professor Kobe Mensah, once again. What are your thoughts that the flag bearer himself, being a campaign chair, while still holding his portfolio as vice president?
Thank you, Aisha. And let me say that congratulations to Dennis for gaining the confidence in the team to become one of the leading, director of the communication team. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that is in the natural order. Obviously, in most campaigns, you would always have, the presidential candidate as the one that actually chairs it. Of course, there is also a campaign chair and strategist, which Dambocho actually occupies that. But if you look at the history, and if you compare that with the NPP's own campaign structure in 2015, I think, when it was announced, yes, President Nana-Addo was actually the chair, which I think I outlined it, some time ago. So certainly it's a natural order that you have the candidate being the chair of the campaign. Obviously, if you compare that with the 2016, which Nana-Addo at the time wasn't, the president or wasn't part of the presidential team. So obviously you would have the opportunity to all the time around, for you to actually prosecute the campaign. This time around, you have a certain vice president. So certainly the campaign team would have to find a way of making sure that he can fulfill his national duties as well as his campaign duties. Of course, you have very experienced, campaign, officers in the presence of Damboche. Obviously, you have Nana Bawumia there, you have McMahon. These are seasoned, political actors in this country, and I'm sure they have the history and the experience to know how to manage, the presidential candidate.
What should be the plan in terms of branding once again from an expert point of view?
Okay, and that is where I would probably defer or depart from Dennis's position. I once remember having conversations with the seasoned party, officials, and one of the things that resounds clearly was that, to the NPP, they believe that the party is much more stronger, the party is much more bigger. So although you have both the candidate and the party's logo, or the candidate's image, of course, they see the party as the most driving, element of the piece that you actually see. Obviously, the policy, the party candidate, and then, of course, the party itself. Now, especially when it comes to strategy, when you have quite a lot of people having misgivings about your candidate, and that's not my word. I mean, you have a lot of Ghanaians having certain kind of misgivings about the candidates. You would want to move strictly, perhaps, playing much of the policy or the party itself. So for me, I expect that the strategy would be put the policy at the center. Obviously, you would play the candidate clearly. Of course, he's actually contested. But when it comes to how much do you dedicate to talking about the policy, talking about the candidate, talking about the party, I expect them, and of course, I'm not surprised that it's Dambocho who is leading it, very, very seasoned strategist. I am sure that we're going to see a lot more emphasis on the policies as opposed to on the candidate. And I'll give you a typical example. In 2000, very much of my PhD, you see Kufuor at the very center of the campaign. Of course, they made quite a lot of distinction between Kufuor's, ascendancy to the flag bearership, how he compares with, former, Jerry Rawlings, because strategically they replaced, former president of blessed memory, Atta Mills, with Jerry Rawlings, because they could do that contrast. They could actually show that difference. So they technically replaced, former President Atta Mills of blessed memory with, former President, Rawlings of blessed memory. So strategy-wise, that's how they played it. And I'm sure they're going to do similar by making a lot more emphasis on the policy as opposed to on the candidate.